Good afternoon, students. Welcome to another interesting session of ICAI live virtual classes. We are doing business correspondence and reporting, and the topic today in discussion is Pressy writing. So I welcome you all to the session. Quickly join in so that we can have a lot of discussion, we can have a lot of inputs from your side, we can practice for the exam, and I hope you all will enjoy as much as you have been doing the other sessions. So thank you so much. Mansi is there, Licha, Shiba, Jaspreet, Dhyanesh, good afternoon. Ayushi, good afternoon. Nikita, it's so nice. I'm good. Thank you so much, Dhyanesh. How are you? It's good to have students back. You know, it doesn't seem like a virtual class, so I'm not seeing you directly, but it seems very much that I am in touch with you regarding your studies. I see the same names again, so it's very happy to have people back in class, and all the new joinees also most welcome. So let's start. So today the discussion is on Pressy writing, which is a very, very important topic. I obviously want all of you to pay attention because this is something which is a compulsory question in the paper. You will definitely have it. So please pay attention. And before I actually start, is there anything which you want to ask from your last class? Because there is any doubt, anything which you think was not clear, we can take it up. Please keep having a look at your mock test papers, at the revision test papers. The study material is very important for this exam. You have to completely rely on it. If you practice more and more, if you practice those question papers more and more, I'm sure you can easily get a good score. Please don't concentrate on getting only passing marks. You always have to aim for a very good score. And business correspondence is not that difficult. It's just a matter of understanding the concept. Good afternoon, Mayur, and good afternoon, Ankit. Okay, so I assume last time we did introduction to basics of writing. That was a general topic, so there wasn't much to discuss. But yes, we have done a lot of examples on finding the title, finding the meaning of certain words. You must be having classes on vocabulary where you're doing synonyms and antonyms. So those kind of questions will be expected. You know, you might even have questions on active passive voice related to grammar. You might have a question on writing the minutes of a meeting. So please follow those MTPs and RTPs. That is the best way to understand how your question paper will look like. Fine? Okay, so I'll share my screen and we'll start doing Pressy writing today. Okay, so this is my first screen. I hope it's visible to every one of you. There is no blurred screen. You can hear me properly. So what is a Pressy? Now, first of all, as the first pointer in the slide says, it is a French word, and that's the reason why we pronounce it a little differently as against the English pronunciation. Abdul, it's not about which type of question. Actually, what happens is it's not about questions coming from a particular chapter. So last time when we did introductions to basic writing, you must have realized that okay, I'm getting your question, I'm getting your query repeatedly, Varun. I'll discuss that. Chapter 6 is a concern, I think, introduction to basics of writing. So when you're doing that chapter, you just have to focus on the styles of writing. So there are ways you can write articles, there are ways you can write essays, there are ways you can write editorials. You might get a question on writing an article on a certain topic, and mostly the topic will be from a current affair issue. Okay, so that was the reason why I was telling you, please keep track of newspapers, please read about issues happening. For example, the Ukraine-Russia issue, and there are so many other political issues happening. So this is something you can get a question on. Even the reading comprehension can be based on either of these topics, you know, something which is from current affairs, something which relates to the economy, something which relates to finance. So you should have a good grip over such topics. Okay. Okay, great, Bhumika. The screen is visible. Thank you, Priyanka. And good afternoon, Priyansha. Fine. So we'll start. We were just discussing Pressy writing. If you can see a small dash over the letter E, that's because that's a French word, like I told you. And what exactly we do in Pressy writing is we shorten the given content. So some of you might feel it's about writing a summary, but it's not exactly that. We'll definitely discuss over the class, over the next few hours, what exactly is the difference between a Pressy and a summary. And this is like a long answer. So you're going to get a 4-mark or a 5-marker question. So please listen to it carefully and don't leave this question. These are questions which are going to help you get a good score. Mayur, you can check the page number. You have the study material. The study material is also uploaded on the ICAI Cloud BOS Knowledge Portal. You can check it there. So I wouldn't remember the page numbers, of course, but I'm sure all of you have the study material. So please care and bear to look at it. And all these topics which we are discussing are there in it chapter-wise. Okay? Fine. So let's move on. When I talk about Pressy, it means to shorten, like I said. And of course, whatever information is there in the content, and if you are asked to write a Pressy on it, it must involve accurate description and it must be as short as possible. So first of all, remember, you are not allowed to change facts. You are not allowed to give your own opinion. And this is not a summary in terms of, it does not involve any kind of personal answers here. So if you like it or you don't like it, that kind of a personal recommendation is not expected in a Pressy. It has to be very, very factual, and it is not just the outline skeletal structure of a given content. It's not that. Okay. Of course, as I move on with the slides, you'll understand better how the Pressy is. Okay, so Shiba and Priyanka, they have mentioned the page number. It's 7.2, 7.3. Thank you so much. So those of you who have not yet seen the study material can straight away refer to 7.2 and 7.3. Okay. You can do this as a practice for any story you read, any editorial you read in a newspaper. If you're reading a good news article, you can try and write a Pressy on your own. That gives you kind of a good practice over how exactly these things are written. Because if you think I'll do 2 questions and then I think I can master the art of writing Pressy, that won't be possible. So you really need to do a lot of practice. And I think the old question papers have a lot of examples. You have solved examples also. The keys have also been uploaded on the website. So please, I'm requesting you, please keep track of whatever is there on the website, because we keep adding questions there in the RTPs and the MTPs. Okay, now this is a very important question. You might straight away get a question on the difference between a Pressy and a summary. Even if you don't get a question, this kind of a difference, a tabular differentiation always helps you to understand the difference better. Remember, in school, you used to do difference between photosynthesis and difference between respiration, difference between cations and anions. So this tabular representation is always very helpful. These points should be on your tips. You should know this, and you might get a question directly, or you might have to answer a theoretical question based on this. So both ways, this slide is really going to be helpful. Okay. So all of you, please go through this slide. The difference, I've given you 4 differences. If you think there are more, please feel free to put it in the comment section. Pressy is a brief statement, like it says. So everything which is very short, as short as possible, we call it a Pressy, as opposed to a summary, which is more of an account, which is more of writing. So you might have a paragraph to write when I ask you to write the summary, but when I ask you to write a Pressy, it has to be not more than 2 to 3 lines. So that's the first and the most important difference. Secondly, a Pressy always follows the same order as given in the content. So if there are events happening, if there's a list of events happening, your Pressy will also follow the same order as mentioned in the question. In case of a summary, you have like a free hand. You are allowed to play around with things. You can put the last thing first, you can put the first thing last. That completely depends on how creative you are. So summary is more about being creative because you can change the order of events. Third, of course, Pressy states what the author is trying to say, the writer is saying. It's not about you answering a question, it's just replicating the thoughts of the writer, and that too in a certain order. And summary, you are free to include your own thoughts. That's very important, because a summary is more about a suggestion. So if I'm reading a summary, it kind of gives me an idea that, maybe this is of my my choice. Maybe this is something I can relate with. Maybe I have a different point of view. So all those ideas and thoughts come up in a summary, whereas in a Pressy, it is very, very factual. So Pressy writing is more done in the official context. It's more of a business communication style of writing. A summary is not much like that. Fine. Okay, I'm just getting a lot of comments. So let me see. Varun, for some reason, your comment comes like 4 times, 5 times. Could you please check that? Okay, so he says Pressy is regarding a particular event and description, and summary revolves around the information as a whole. Okay, so Pressy can be an event. Pressy can also be a story. So if there's a factual information, there is some information about which you have to write a Pressy. Mostly it is about an event. Okay. Who else has answered? Okay, Priyanka has said Pressy should be more formal and summary can be informal. Very correct, Priyanka. That's true. So Varun and Priyanka have given another point of difference. Pressy is more in the formal setup. You write with a certain tone, you write with a certain language, whereas summary can be a little unofficial. So it can go to a story writing summary. That is possible. Okay, Balasajan Lakshmi, good afternoon. Okay, finally, the third point here. It states the thought of the writer. So what I meant to say is you are not supposed to play with the writer's idea. That's not allowed. You have to stick to what the writer is saying. You have to stick to certain viewpoints, certain tones and styles of the writer, because you don't have a free hand here. Whereas in a summary, you can include anything you want to. So you're allowed to twist the tale, you're allowed to add your own feedback, you're allowed to add your own POV, but that also needs certain limitations. But yes, for a Pressy, it's just like a very small hand limitation. You just have to stop then and there. Fine. And of course, like we've discussed so much about a Pressy, so by now you must have got an idea that a Pressy is very, very realistic. It doesn't involve any imagination. It doesn't involve any creativity. It doesn't involve a play around words, because you're not supposed to do that. But in a summary, you can do all that. You can be creative. It's your free hand. You can change the style. You can replicate the idea, because you are just summarizing the content. So the way you summarize, there is no strictness towards that. But when you write a Pressy, there's quite a lot of limitations. You are bounded within certain limits, and within those limits only a Pressy has to be presented. Okay, so all said and done, Pressy writing is definitely difficult. I wouldn't say it's easy. I wouldn't say that you can master the art of Pressy writing in a day. It doesn't happen. So even if you try to, I would still say please practice a lot of Pressy writing. One, that it's an important part of the exam, and two, you might have to do this later when you are in office, when you have your own firm. So as a CA, Pressy writing is very important because you have notes and bundles of reports to study. So when somebody asks you the crux of it or how were the things placed, a Pressy is what comes in hand, is what comes handy. It's very helpful. Okay, great. So any doubts till now? If you think I'm going a little fast, I can slow down. A Pressy, okay, Sarvesh says a Pressy is formal, very good. Pressy does not talk about what should be ought to, while summary gives suggestions. Yes, Priyanka, very true. That's correct. So I'm getting this that you all have understood the difference vividly enough, because your answers are making me get that impression. So a Pressy is more about your opinion, your thoughts, your feedback. That might not be the case. In case of a summary, it's your opinion, your thoughts. That might not be the case in terms of a Pressy. In terms of a Pressy, it is more about strictness. It's more about formalities. It's more about sticking to the point and no diversions, no digressions allowed. Okay? That's also a good point, Bhumika. Pressy tells us the meaning in a more direct way, whereas a summary tells us something in a more indirect way. Yes, very good. I can take that. So the idea which is coming through the author, it is coming to us as a reader, there you are very correct in saying that the summary can be, it can have a lot of twists and turns, and then it can give you the idea in a very indirect way, but the idea reaches us, right? Remember this wonderful ad of kya idea hai sarji? So idea will come, but how it comes, that makes the difference between a Pressy and a summary. Okay, I think Priyanka, you wanted to write something else because you've written Pressy is time consuming while summary is time consuming. So for both you have written time consuming, just see. Pressy is formal writing. Very good, Priyanka. Okay, great. Thanks, Mansi, for telling me it's clear. Thank you so much, Jyoti. Shiba says summary, we can use our own words. With Pressy, we need to follow the structure. Very good, Shiba. So glad that, you all have understood. I'm pretty happy about that. You just need to understand that it's very important to follow the tone, the style of the author. You cannot change what the author is saying. You cannot add any extra information. You cannot give your own point of view or suggestions or feedback in a Pressy. And if there is a structure or if there is an order of events, that remains the same in a Pressy. Okay, it's just the shortened version of a given text. That's a Pressy. Whereas summary, you are free to play around with words. You are free to give your own suggestions or feedback. You are free to state your own opinion. You can be as creative as possible. The order can be changed. So if there's a book of about 10 chapters, you can talk about the 10th chapter first for some reason, and then talk about the second, and then talk about the fourth. That's perfectly fine because you don't have any limitations of restricting to the order given. Okay? Clear? Is it fine? Everything okay? Yeah, right. Pressy is... Yeah, okay. Now Priyanka has edited that. Thanks, Priyanka. See, now let me tell you something, students. Please remember, these are all styles of writing. So my point of telling you this is that, sometimes people come and ask me, why do I need to know what is a Pressy? How is it going to help me in my CA? I'm going to get into, audit, and I'm going to get into direct tax. Why do I need to know what is Pressy? Well, the idea is not that it's directly related to your subject, whether you're doing direct tax or indirect tax, whether you're doing, maybe audits, whether you're doing, maybe you are into some kind of financial sector later, you are into an investment banking sector later, wherever you are, as long as you are in a workplace where there are reports, where there is content, where there is communication, where there are files, you need to know what is a Pressy. That's my only request. That's why I say, please don't learn things on the basis of how they're going to be helpful. Always be open to learning things because you don't know how, when, and where these things are helpful. And probably because your knowledge of a Pressy, you have an edge over some other students who've never done a Pressy writing. So when you are in office and your boss comes and says, okay, this is the story for the yesterday's event, can you please write a Pressy on it? So then your knowledge, your understanding comes in picture. And then you will remember these classes and you will remember me. That yes, on 5th of March, we did a class on Pressy writing, an afternoon session. And yes, this is what ma'am was telling me. So I really want you to think that way. Think in a long-term vision. Don't always think short-term, that in the next 2 months, how is Pressy helping you? Why do I need to write a summary? I'm not a writer. I'm not an author. I'm not an editor. I'm not reading Ruskin Bond books. It doesn't matter. All these things are basics of any good profession, and you are into a profession which is highly respected. So as a CA aspirant, this is something which is expected out of you people once you enter into the industry. Okay? Yeah, I'll come to that, Dhyanesh. Okay, so Varun, Ayushi, Priyanka have written, both the Priyankas, that everything is clear. Thank you so much. So now Dhyanesh has a doubt. How many lines, words should we write? I'll definitely come to that. Give me a minute. I'm moving on. Okay. Now the next is the 5 C's, which are kind of mandatory for Pressy writing. And what are those? Oh, wait. I'm still getting a lot of differences. So let me just mention all what you guys have written. Priyanka is asking example of Pressy writing his budget, summaries, financial analysis. Yeah, that's correct, Priyanka. Short note, idea thought without changing the fact or the author's name. Yeah, that's also true, Ankit. While writing summary, we can use informal sentences, and in Pressy, we have to use formal sentences and connotations. Very good, Bhumika. That's also correct. So wonderful. I mean, I would again clap for you. I'm so glad that I have students like you in my class. You just like take a minute to understand a new concept like Pressy. Otherwise, people would struggle hard that okay, what is Pressy? How do I use it? Why am I going to use it? But you guys have started giving me such wonderful descriptive answers for the subject that I don't feel there is any confusion. So thank you so much, Priyanka. Okay, Chitra is asking me, is there any word limit? Yes, there are word limits. For anything which we write, any aspect of writing always has word limits, especially when you're doing it from an exam point of view. And even later, like while in office, while at workplace, you wouldn't be mentioned the word limit. You have to make that for yourself. You need to know that on your own. So that's the reason why in exams we give you a word limit so that you know that, this is the maximum you can write. Beyond that, it's all redundant. So please choose your words in that way. Express your ideas maximum in the shortest possible word limit. Otherwise, of course, you'll realize you are just writing and writing and writing and you're filling sheets, but all that is not required. Okay, so let's discuss this. The 5 C's needed for Pressy writing. So one, of course, is clarity. Now, this is something which I tell every student that you should first be clear in your mind about what are those good points which I have to encapsulate in my Pressy. So this should be clear in your mind. Secondly, since I'm going to write a Pressy based on some given context, some given text, I should be able to join the dots from the first to the second paragraph. Suppose I have a text which is like 6 paragraphs and it's pretty huge, it's pretty detailed, it's pretty elaborate, and I have to write a Pressy. So what will I do? I have to first think, okay, this is the clear structure in my mind. These are the points I'm going to include. You might have to change paragraphs, but you can't have the same number of words as given in the text, right? Of course, your answer should be quite short. So the coherence is something. Coherence is like a connection between the last paragraph and the coming paragraph. So everything should flow in a smooth way. The flowing of the content of the ideas from the first to the second to the third paragraph is known as coherence. Okay? Concise. Now, the word Pressy itself means it is precise, it is short. So obviously, your answers should be very concise. Completeness. Now, this one and the last one. It's the most difficult aspect of writing a Pressy. Why? I'll tell you. Completeness means you haven't missed out on any important point. So if I say there are 10 important points discussed by the author and you kind of fail to mention 3, you only think those 7 are important, then there is definitely a lack. There is definitely a gap in your understanding. So completeness means all those important points which are there in the given context, in the given text, have been included in the Pressy in the correct order. So you haven't changed facts, you haven't changed figures, you haven't muddled with the author's way of writing, and whatever you're writing is just another shortened replica of what the author has given. The author can be for a report, it can be a survey, it can be an article, it can be an opinion writing piece, it can be a writing piece of persuasion, it can be anything. Okay? Yeah, very true, Shiba. Pressy must not exceed 1/3 of the length of the paragraph. That's like a standard we consider and we stick to it. You're supposed to abide by it. So if the text is XYZ, 1/3 of XYZ in number of words is what your Pressy should look like. Okay. So for example, you have a text of 300 words, your Pressy should be directly 100 words. Plus minus 10 is okay. I mean, we are not that particular, but yes, on the whole, I mean, to cut the long story short, it has to be 1/3. Okay? Clarity, Ankit, can mean how clear you are. So clarity of understanding the given passage and clarity of putting those ideas in your own Pressy. Clarity would refer to both of them. Mayur, writing steps are not mandatory. You don't have to write steps. You straight away have to write down the Pressy. Okay? Pressy's own words, Ankit. Summaries can't be used everywhere like in offices, official communication. So we developed the concept of Pressy. Yes, Sarthak, you are very true. Summary is a very casual way of writing. In school you used to write summaries of texts and stories and chapters and poems. Pressy is a much more official version of a summary, and it's a much more shorter version of a summary. Okay. Coherence, Ankit, doesn't mean ideas. Coherence means connectivity. How logically you are flowing from para 1 to para 2, that is coherence. Okay. C's for Pressy, Priyanka, what do I tell you? These are the 5 C's of Pressy. You might get a question on them. What are the 5 C's of Pressy? So you should know them. The order is not that important, whether you write completeness first or correctness first, that's okay. But definitely you should be knowing these 5 C's. Okay. Okay, so now we'll go step by step. Ankit, I just explained the meaning of every word, right? Didn't I? Okay, don't worry. I'll take you again through all the C's. So I'll explain the meaning of each of those C's. Now you can pay more attention. I hope your doubts will get clear. Okay. Now, clarity, like the dictionary definition says, is clear and free of ambiguity. So when I say they're clear skies, which means there is no other element in the sky which is making it blurred. I'm pretty clear. My thoughts are clear about what I have to do after grade 12. Then, something which you understand. You guys have been writing this in the comment. If I ask you, is this clear? You say, yes, ma'am, crystal clear. That's how you use it. And of course, clear your room would mean organize and clean it. Clear is not that empty it. Clear your room means to put things in place and let it look more cleaner. That's clear your room. Okay. So these are some examples of using the word clear, but of course it relates to clarity. Dhyanesh, it's not Pressy is more than summaries. It's 1/3 of the given text. More than summary 1/4, that becomes a little illogical to say. So we don't compare a summary because summary we don't keep a word limit. But for Pressy, we need a word limit. Okay, so don't have any kind of a combination or a ratio between Pressy and summary for the 1/3 and the 1/4. You straight away have to think of a Pressy as 1/3 of the given text. No, brevity and coherence, Varun, is not at all similar. Brevity is more about being brief, being short in terms of number of words, how short you are. That's brief. Coherence is more about the logic, more about the connection between the passing paragraphs. Okay, so there is kind of a flow between what you said in the first paragraph, and then that you logically move on to the next, and then you move on to the next. So you're going in a stepwise way, in a very organized way. That is coherent. Okay, so it's not like ideas are scattered, ideas are disorganized. It's not like that. Fine. Okay, Hera and Ankit, thank you so much. Crystal clear. Let's move on. The second is coherence, like since many of you are having doubts, so I'm giving you the meaning. So this is being consistent. Sometimes we say Kohli has been consistent in his performance. Maybe we say Dravid has not been consistent when it comes to captaincy, or when it comes to coaching, or we talk about some foreign player. We talk about, let's say, Gilchrist has been a consistent player in. Gilchrist has always given a consistent performance in Australian cricket series. So you always have to talk about somebody. I mean, this is a word which is often used with cricket performances. Okay. Okay, now I've given you examples of how to use the word a coherent essay. So when you write something, words should flow logically. A speech, so when you're addressing an audience, what you say, if you're addressing the problems which, suppose you are a would-be minister, or you are a politician and you're addressing the audience or the masses or the crowd in an election campaign, Okay, so what are you going to do? How are you going to start your speech? You're going to definitely address the audience in a loving way. Then you will talk about the problems they are facing. Then you will talk about the solutions. Then you will talk about how you, as a candidate, or you, as your party, representing your party, how you can bring about a turn of things in their constituency, in their town. So your speech is going in a very logical way. You start with the problems and you end up with the solutions, and then you thank the audience. That's a coherent speech. Okay. Okay, Abdul. I mean, that's just an example. Dhoni can be an excellent example as a consistent captain for the Indian cricket. Unfortunately, he's not playing now, but yes, for whatever reasons, we've had wonderful captains and wonderful consistent players in the Indian cricket team. Okay, and a report should be coherent. Report is like just, the most important aspect of writing communication when it comes to chartered accountancy. You have to be very perfect with report. I give you 2 hours, give me a report on some issue. You should be having it in your mind. Okay, report, which means I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to do this, and then my report is ready. So that's how smart you have to be when it comes to report writing. Okay, we'll of course discuss that in another class. Okay, conciseness, somebody was asking conciseness. I think Ankit had asked. So conciseness means being short, crisp, and precise. And I've given you some usages of the word, because always remember, unless you use the word in a sentence or a phrase in the English language, you will not understand the word. So if it's a concise article, what do I mean by that? If it's a concise version, what do I mean by that? If it's a concise account, what do I mean by that? So, for example, let's say there was a historical event like, let's say the First World War, 1914. Now, the First World War is being talked about today, and I've read a lot about it, and I have to give a Pressy to my students. So how will I do it? It's an account, because I'm just telling you what happened according to the author of that story. Okay. Version of events, again, concise version means so many events happened in a college festival. Every event had so many different people participating. There were attractions, there were prizes, there were chief guests, but I can't put everything in my college magazine, right? I have to give a very concise version of the events of the festival, so that whoever reads it gets a fair enough vivid picture in his or her mind that, okay, this is how the college fest happened. That's a concise version of events. Okay. Anything else you have to say? You guys want to ask me something? Please go ahead. Anything which you feel is not clear, or you want me to discuss it again just for better understanding, or you want to add something from your side? Otherwise, I'll move on to examples. Everything is clear? Crystal clear? People have started answering. Okay, no doubt. Thank you, Jyoti, and thank you, Dhyanesh. Now, I'm sharing a screen, sharing an example in the screen where it's about a cyclone Amphan which hits the Bay of Bengal. And then below that, I've given a Pressy. So if your Pressy is like this, you will get full marks. Okay, so please concentrate. Read the passage, which is about 6 lines, and Pressy is almost 3 lines. So you can, of course, I know I said 1/3. So it doesn't categorically mean that you have to stick to 2 lines only out of 6 lines, but it's almost half here. So please see the important details which I have included in my Pressy. And the most important thing which you would have realized now is a Pressy needs a title, a caption. So it's more like an article writing, where an article also needs a caption. A Pressy also needs a caption. Okay, so take your time. Please go ahead. Chitra, we have been discussing that for a long time, that Pressy writing is like type of summary writing, but I wouldn't use that type of, because there are 2 different genres and 2 different styles of writing are incorporated when I write a Pressy or a summary. the agenda is different, the purpose is different. There are many things which go behind a Pressy, which we have been discussing for so long. Okay, so please go through the discussions, and then I think it will be better. Okay, Bhumika and Shiva, thank you so much. No doubts. Fine. So please read this example and tell me if you have understood how the Pressy is written. I'll just underline a few words which I think are kind of important when you have to write a Pressy. Okay. So the name of the cyclone, where did it strike, the states which have been affected, when is it going to reach other places soon, and maybe the speed. These are some kind of facts, and this is some kind of a good information which you can include in your Pressy. Okay. So if you see what have I written, Cyclone Amphan has barged into West Bengal. Now you see the difference. I have changed the word slammed into, I have changed it into barged into. So it's not that I'm straight away picking words from the passage, and I also retain the meaning by adding a new word. Has barged into West Bengal and Odisha with heavy rains, winds and waves. That of course is part of the passage. Lakhs of people, because it says over 5 lakh people have been strangled and disbanded from their places. So instead of using the figure 5 lakhs, I've changed it to a more generalized version saying lakhs of people have been given shelters in both the states. Both the states refer to West Bengal and Odisha. The cyclone, with its high speed of 110 to 120 kilometers per hour, is expected to slam other parts of Bengal, which are Havra, Kolkata and Hooghly. Okay, you do not have to mention that this was being told by an IMD official. Here, even the NDRF does not have much to say, because it's just the mention of the chief of NDRF who said or who gave certain information during the press briefing. Got it? So you have to realize that only information which is going to help a reader understand what exactly is the cyclone causing, what is the destruction, why the destruction, where is it causing the destruction, that much is enough. If you are able to tell me that much, then your Pressy is just perfect. Okay. So talking about East Midnapur and North 24 Parganas, that was not a very important fact. I can rule that out. Talking about, let's say the cyclone will reach Kolkata soon. I'm already telling you which places of Bengal will be hit. So I don't have to mention that line again. Okay, so try and use that filtering method that, okay, this is not important, whereas this is important. Keeping that in mind, we can come out with a wonderful Pressy. And then comes the very important thing, which is the title. So Amphan attempts destruction, because it's like a sarcastic comment, and it's also kind of giving you an idea that the cyclone is attempting destruction, but we are ready and we are kind of trying to take care of it. So it gives you both the feelings. Okay? Clear? Any doubts in this example? Yeah, Priyanka, yes. Pressy has a title, and you get extra marks for the title. So if it's a 4-mark question, it's definitely 1 mark for the title, and then the rest of the marks are for what you have written. Barged means entered with force. Okay, Shiva? Shelter and rescue statistics. Because there are no statistics mentioned in the passage. What does the passage say? The passage gives you only 2 figures. One, it gives you a figure of the number of people who've got shelters, and the other is the speed of the wind, isn't it? Kushagra. So we have inculcated both of them in the Pressy. There aren't any statistics accounts here. And as a result, whatever is there, I'm going to replicate only that. Well, it's not compulsory, Priyanka, to include new words, but it's good. Because if you don't change any words, then what happens is it looks as if you've not been innovative at all. You've simply picked up sentences and put them in 2 lines. So then your expertise doesn't come into play. So if you really think there is a possibility where you can change a couple of words without disrupting the facts, then please go ahead and do it. Okay, so it's not about compulsion. It's just about using a better word. Great. So Muhammad, Jyoti, Licha, Ayushi, and Hera, thank you so much. You've understood everything, and so has Bhumika. Wonderful. So let's move on to the next example then. Okay. Okay, no doubt, Ayushi. Very good. Thank you. Fine. So now comes your turn. I showed you my bit. Now it's your turn. Let me see how smart you can be. How much of it have you understood? You all have put that in the chat box that you've understood. And I'm so glad about that. These are things these are like practical training kind of topics. You can't sit and revise Pressy. You can't sit and think, okay, Pressy means this, Pressy means that. It's not like learning a section or an act. An income tax act. That's not what you're doing here. This is more about something which is coming from inside and it comes naturally. So when somebody says, okay, please write a summary, I know summary would include these things. I'll straight away go and write. When somebody says, okay, please write a Pressy. So it's just that I have read about what is a Pressy and it should come naturally rather than sitting and thinking, okay, Pressy means x plus y whole square, Pressy means a to the power of 3. It's not that logical. It's not that figurative. It's not that mathematical. Okay? Yes, of course, Chitra. It depends on what is the weightage of that question. And depending on the weightage marks are deducted. So it's a 4-mark question. So 1 mark definitely goes to the title. And then the rest of the 3 marks are dependent on how much of the right and the correct information you have included in the Pressy. And deduction of marks, of course, depends on who's checking the paper and how exactly strict the checking is. Of course, you get marks for most of what you have covered. And if you have not covered something, you lose marks. So the checking pattern or the marks gaining pattern is just the way it happens for any exam. So it's not anything different or new. So you people have written so many exams. Whatever happened there, it's the same here. Okay, quickly now read this passage. So I would like to take a break at around 3 p.m. So before that, I would like you to please read the passage, give it a title, and write a Pressy. So I think there are about 10 to 11 lines. So you can write a Pressy for maximum 4 lines. Okay, Ankit has given a title saying child labor. I'm waiting for other answers. You can see the highlighted words. They are the key words in this passage. If you want, I can definitely show you the meaning of all the words once you finish reading all this. Okay, can I change the slide to show you the meanings? Yeah, please have a look at the meanings. Shiva, children are our future, let them grow. Is that the title you meant? Child labor is against human rights. Okay. See, again, I think I told you, please don't give me straightforward sentences for a title. Captions and titles should be short, should be crisp, should be without articles and prepositions. that makes them more look like a title than a statement or a fact. Okay? Social phenomenon, child labor, okay. Just breathe. Let them earn knowledge, not money. Okay, Shiva. Okay. Okay, Harshit, you find out who's a kin worker. Have you heard of the word kin? KILN, where L is kind of silent. An emerging threat to human rights is what, Priyanka? You need to mention that. What is an emerging threat to human rights? Sarvesh says child labor, the part of humanity. Why is it part of humanity? What are you exactly doing in the passage? Are you trying to criticize child labor? Are you trying to voice an interest against child labor, that it goes against the basic human rights? So we should not allow people to engage children in labor. Kiln workers, quickly find out who's a kiln worker. Can somebody tell me? Ayushi says labor at the age of learning. Okay, that's a good title. Child labor, a social crime. Okay, very good, Priyansha. Priyanka says an emerging threat to human rights. Okay, so child labor, an emerging threat to human rights. I can take that. Varun says right to child education. I think you can make it a little more fancy than simply saying right to child education, because we are not completely concerned over educational rights. We also talk about economic, political, legal rights. Aren't we talking? End child labor now. That looks like a protest slogan more than a title, Shiva. A big human rights issue. What, Archana? What is a big human rights issue? So you say child labor, a big human rights issue. Children work for education, not for labor. Okay, Varun, that's fine. Kin labors, I know, Sarvesh, but I'm asking you to tell me. You find out and tell me. For me, it's okay. I'll tell you the meaning in a minute. But at least if you can tell me who is a kiln worker, I'll be happier. And the others also, I'm asking everybody. How many of you can tell me who a kiln worker is? Karma Wangchuk, exploitation of children. Exploitation is a very general word, Wangchuk. I think you can make it more specific. Because if you talk about only exploitation, there are many means of exploitation, isn't it? So it becomes very difficult for me to actually pin down on what exploitation are you talking about. Child labor opposed to public policy. Okay, Chitra. Kushagra says child labor, mockery of human rights. Very good, Kushagra. That's wonderful. Who employer of child labor is killer? Okay, so Jyoti, you mean whoever employs a child as a labor is kind of killing the child rather than helping him. Okay, fine. Just correct your tense and correct your formation of the title. I get what you mean, but in terms of language, this is not a correct language. Child labor is coarse. Ankit, I didn't understand. What did you mean by child labor is coarse? Yeah, very good, Priyanka. Kiln means a place where bricks and pots are heated. It's like in Hindi you say it's bhatti, where you have to. There's a very high temperature. There's so much high temperature that you have to work in that heat. You're giving a final shape to clay pots, earthen pots. Bricks are made there. Those are kiln workers. Okay, Sarvesh? Small-aged laborers are kids. Varun, I didn't get you. What are you saying when you put kids in the bracket? Small-aged laborers are kids. Child labor and human rights issues, okay. Child labor, a social crime, very good. Abdul, very good. Mansi, Ugyen, that's how I call your name. Ugyen Dorji. Ugyen, are you from Nepal? And so is Ugyen also mentioned something. Kiln workers are those who stand up for their rights. No, again, that's a wrong fact. Kiln workers are workers who work in the brick making areas. They make bricks, and you have to work in really high temperatures, which are not very favorable conditions. You basically have to, keep those bricks in a certain condition where they get baked. So more about the earthen pots and clay pots kind of a thing. Threat to childhood and humanity. Good, Varun. Killer of human rights is child labor. People working in chambers and items used to make bricks. Yes, Kushagra, true. You've got it now. Okay, Mayur has a long answer to say. I think he's written the Pressy. Destroy population. It's a complex social phenomena by merging perspective. The marginal existence allows to improving sense environment can create only through multi-stakeholder. Stakeholder, you meant. Okay, is this the Pressy you've written? Bhutan. Okay, again, I'm sorry, Bhutan. Stop child labor, Nikita. Again, that sounds like a placard you hold when you're going on a street march, on a protest march. Child labor is against human rights. Child labor is continuous since history and exposition, the childhood. Jyoti, it's a little misworded. I mean, you've placed a lot of heavy words, but I failed to get the crux of it. So if you can please arrange the words in a certain way. Now, what exactly I'm expecting out of you is when you get a passage like this in your exam, first look for all the keywords. I have highlighted the keywords. You can see them in the dark color. I've given you the meanings also on the next page. I think I missed out on kiln workers, which of course, Sarvesh has asked. So I've done that. So first look at the keywords, underline them, keep them in your mind, then try and start writing your Pressy based or revolving around these keywords. Got it? Spoiled child, grooming, Omvati, I don't know, this is not correct. Please, you need to change the answer here. Okay, the problem of society. Okay, Samir, I can take that. So first is, remember, facts will not be changed. Second is, the order of information given will not be changed. Third is, if the author is criticizing child labor and it's thinking that it's going against human rights, you have to take the same stand as the author. If the author is mentioning some examples and you think they are worthy of being part of a Pressy because it's going to help the reader understand the crux of the passage, put those examples. What is the government and what are the NGOs doing in this context? If you want, you can put that in your answer. So Pressy will, of course, retain the essence of the given passage. Your job is to put it in less number of words, yet retain the essence and give it to the audience. Okay? Exploitation of child life. Okay, Shiva, and child labor against human right. Okay, Mayur, I'll take that. Fine. So at least I can consider one thing, that you all are clear with what is the title. I won't ask you to write to Pressy because I know with the limited option in this restricted setup, typing on your phones or on your devices, it's a little difficult to type so much. So don't write the Pressy, but at least you've got the first part of it correct, which is giving it a caption. Okay? Keywords are okay. Any word which you want to know. Otherwise, I've tried my best to explain everything. Okay, now this is the next example. So before I actually take a break, I wanted you to go through the whole presentation once. Just give me a second for that. So we'll have one example here. Then we have, which of course is a continuation of the example. And then I'll be giving you some examples, some more writings from the study material. Okay. Or maybe we can discuss a few questions from the RTPs, because Pressy writing is divided into more sessions. So it's not the end of the Pressy writing right now. Okay. So what I would do is I'll take a small break here for about 5 to 6 minutes. You can come back after the break. we'll continue with this example. We'll discuss more issues of how exactly a Pressy is written. You can tell me your inputs, and then we'll do some practice from the question papers. Okay, thank you so much. Let's take a short break. Okay, welcome students. Welcome after the short break. So I've been reading your comments. Somebody, Neha, I think. Neha, first of all, your message is coming like 10 times. Please check for that. You're asking what notes are not posted on this application. I do not understand. What notes are you talking about? If you're talking about the study material, if you're talking about the papers, the mock test, everything is there on the website. So please have a look. And if you're talking about some other notes, then please clarify. Okay. Mohammed, you have done a brilliant effort. He has kind of typed the whole Pressy, and I'm really impressed with this. Good job, Mohammed. Um, he's written a long Pressy. I'm trying to read it, of course. Give me some time. And so has Ankit, tried very good. Okay. Ankit, what I suggest is, what I've now realized is that you have thoughts, what you are gathering from the question are correct. But what is happening is, I don't find you placing the words in the right order. There is a lot of gap in the way you write. So there are prepositions are missing, articles are missing. So please try and work on that aspect of your language. Okay, because this is going to be helpful not only when you attempt such questions, but also when you're going to speak. So that's something which I really want you to work on. Okay, because I've been seeing you through so many classes, and over a period of time, I have realized this that you get the understanding correctly, but expression of thought is a problem. Okay, Ankit? So please take it as a feedback and work on it. I'll just read the other answers. Okay, Mohammed, it's kind of fine, but I again feel you can improve it, because again, the placement of words, the formation of sentences is a little, it's a little out of place. Neha, all the notes of BCR. So this video is going to be uploaded. You can anyway see the presentations again. You can see my lecture again. You can go through the whole recording again. So it's not a problem. All the notes are readily available on the YouTube channel of ICAI Cloud. You can have a look. ICAI has everything uploaded. The presentations will also be uploaded. The lecture itself is uploaded. You can take as many reruns as you want. You can stop at every passage. You can reattempt it. Everything is possible. So I don't think so there are any notes which will not be there. Even the notes which I am teaching you from, like from these slides, they will be there in the lecture again. So you just have to go through them again. Okay. Okay, Ankit. Your title is correct. I've already discussed. Bhumika has also written something. Let me just give me a minute. I'll go through it. Okay, Bhumika. Good attempt. Fine, well written. Okay, good. So all of you have understood that a Pressy is basically a shortened version. Okay, wait, I'll take you through the content. Since Neha has mentioned this, give me a second. I'll share my screen and I'll take you through the content. Okay, so can all of you see this is the study material. This is chapter number 7, where exactly Pressy is. And it talks about characteristics of a good Pressy. It talks about the steps. I'll quickly take you to a solved example. Is it visible to all of you? So this is a solved example which is given in the study material, and that's why I'm sharing it with those of you who are not aware that this is also a way where you can practice Pressy. A life of action and danger moderates the dread of death. It not only gives us fortitude, etc. It's a nice, interesting, deep passage. So maybe as part of practice, those of you who have not referred to the study material ever, can you please, can I request you to go through this quickly before I actually come back to my slides? Can you just go through this? And then I'll show you what exactly the Pressy will look like. So maybe you can give me a title. That's what you can do in your maximum ability. And how the Pressy will be, I'll show it to you in a couple of minutes. Quickly read this small passage. I hope you understand whatever is written. There aren't any difficult words. Everything is easy here. You just have to understand the story behind it. Tenzin, it's there on the ICAI Board of Studies Knowledge portal. You have to click on the foundation paper. Then you have to click on this particular paper, which is Business Correspondence and Reporting. Once you click that, you're going to get all the mock test papers. You're going to get all the study material. Okay? Have you all finished reading? I'm still waiting. Have you understood? No, you don't have to write the steps, Ayushi. Don't write the steps. If you have finished reading this, I'll take you through the Pressy directly. You don't have to write the steps. I just want you to read this story given. Then Bhumika says, fear of death or big fear in humans, death. Death, a scary feeling. Okay, fine. You guys are very close to perfection. I'm liking your titles. Anything else? Moderate, phobia of death. Okay, Jaspreet says phobia of death. Fine. Bhumika is asking me what is the meaning of moderate and precarious. Moderate temperature, you remember in school, if you remember, you have done your geography. Some cities in India have moderate temperature. So moderate is in a way that it's mediocre, it's middle, It's not in the extremes. A life of action and danger moderates the dread of death, is it balances it down. So when there is a life of action, whenever you are involved in a profession which has a lot of action and a lot of danger, the feeling of death or the scare of death or the dread of death, as is mentioned, becomes a little less. Precarious is very peculiar, very particular, very specific. Okay? Phobia of death, yes. So, phobia of death is this. This is exactly the word for phobia of death. Okay? Fine. Now I'll take you to the Pressy. See, can you see? Wait, I'll just erase this because this might get a little disturbing for you. Okay, this is the first draft, and then as we move down towards the next page, this is the editing, and this is this, and then this is the final draft, which says the fear of death. That's the title, and coincidentally, many of you have given that as a title. But before that, I'll take you to the first draft. If we lead an active life facing dangers, we will fear death less. People who spend a lot of time lazing around and leading a peaceful life are the ones who are most afraid of death. This is because they do not want any change. The most sensible way of getting rid of the fear of death is to value life properly. If we do not give unnecessary importance to our life, we will not feel the pang of death. Okay, this is the first draft. So what exactly is being told to you is you need to get some idea about a very casual writing in the first place. Then you revise your story, you edit, you think again, and finally you see, since the passage is 200 words, the Pressy is like 65 words. But if you check the first draft is around 80 words. So this is the precision which is expected out of you later, maybe not right now, but later you need to be so precise that you're actually calculating 1/3 from the given text. So out of 200, if you can trim down to 65, 70, it's perfect. So this is 80 words, and then finally we have the final draft, which is with the title, and it says fear of death. If we lead an active life facing dangers, we will fear death less. People who lead a lazy and peaceful life fear change and are most afraid of death because you're so peaceful that you don't want any change to happen in life. The most sensible way of getting rid of the fear of death is to value life properly. If we do not give unnecessary importance to our life, we will not feel the pang of death. Got it? Clear? Now is it okay? So what I'm trying to tell you is you might have to go through a couple of drafts and redrafts before you actually come to a conclusion. So please remember, don't get distracted by unwanted information. Don't get distracted by use of words which are, kind of trapping you. Concentrate on the important facts and just put them down in a certain order in your Pressy. Okay? Clear? Fine. So would you want me to take up these questions if you think they're going to help you? Should I share the screen with you, or will you be able to do them on your own? If you think you want, I can do 1 or 2 questions more from this, and then I'll shift back to my PPT because I have a couple of examples left. So all of you, Mayur, Chitra, Ayushi, Bala Sanjana, Lakshmi, very good. Great. All of you have done good in terms of giving me a title, Fear of Death. Okay, Bhumika, most welcome. Okay, Priyanka has given me a nice Pressy. I'm just reading that. Fine. the creator of Pain and Glorious Personality. Danger. Varun, I think it's more about death than about danger. So please get the information right. It's not about danger as such. Okay, so what I want you all to do is I'll share one more example now that I've opened the study material. Maybe many of you have not even read it once. So let's do one more example because we have enough time. We have to go slowly. We don't have to rush through things. It's an important topic and I really, really want all of you to get a full score. Okay, Bhumika says no and Priyanka, Mansi says yes. I'm like in a soup now. Should I share or not share? Okay, let's do a couple of examples because that might be a good practice for you in class. So let's do this one on sentence correction. Okay, because there is an answer to this. So in case you have a doubt or you have a question, you can directly ask me. So let's do this one, the sentence correction one. And then of course I'll move back to my slides if all of you are okay with it. So right now, please read this. The sentence correction of the GMAT is very doable. GMAT is an entrance exam you sit for, you write when you have to apply for management courses abroad. Chitra, it will be a little difficult because, not every one of you will be able to approach me again. So that's why I'm suggesting right now, just do this example, the one on GMAT. Try and write a Pressy with a title. Once I show you the actual draft and the answer to this, I'll move to my PPT. Okay? Please remember, study material is the gospel, is the Bible here, is the key. You cannot afford to not look at the study material. After this, I'll probably show you one or two mock test papers also, if time permits me. Otherwise, of course, you all can do it on your own. I hope you all are reading it. Please read at least this passage. After that, I'll start continuing with my presentation. Please look at the important words. Don't get distracted by names such as Aristotle, Manhattan. These are just titles of a book. Congratulations, Mukta. I think you were there in my last classes. I remember seeing your name. Very, very good. Most welcome. My best wishes are with you. Mukta has cleared the foundation exam, so good. Oh, really? Okay. Okay, I'm so sorry. I think I'm showing the answer. I didn't realize the passage is somewhere above. Okay, then let's just leave it because thanks for correcting me, Sarthak. I didn't realize that's the answer which I'm showing you. Yes, Abdul, now I got it. I was showing the answer, so let's not do it then. Let's leave it because that was a mistake on my part, my bad. I didn't realize the answer is there. Okay, let me take you to a different question then. Okay, this is something which I really wanted you to have a look. Please see, this is a question number 3, where there is a passage given and it has a lot of pointers. You do not have to include pointers in your Pressy. If you see this, interviews are the most common method used by employers, etc., etc. And then this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points are there. Okay. Even if you don't write the answer in points, it's okay. But whatever you do, I'll show you here in the answers. Interview mistakes that must be avoided. See, look at the pointers. They have used the pointers and they've made it like just like 5 to 6 words describing each point. So what you can do is, even if you are not including them as points, you can use words like firstly, secondly, however, moving on, although. These are good connectors which help you make the points into paragraphs. If you think pointers are easy, then you have to do, but in the question, the points had a lot of information. You don't have to do that. Your points should be very, very specific, very, very apt. Please don't write extra. And this is a very interesting question. So all of you, please do try attempting this. This is question number 7. This is page number 7.8, question number 3. Okay, in the practice. So I would request all of you to go through this. There are a lot of questions, there are a lot of practice questions. Even if I show you this, this is one of the mock test paper from the October test series. So you can see how your paper looks like. There are 5 questions out of which you have to answer 4. Question number 1 is compulsory and it has, that's not business correspondence. Yeah, here is business correspondence and reporting. So there is a question on reading comprehension. Let me see if this has a Pressy. If it does, then we'll discuss it right now. There's note making, there is summary writing. Okay, now here you can see this is a question on write a Pressy and give an appropriate title to the passage given. It's the C bit. Okay, it's a 5-marker question. Let's see if you can read it. It starts with the word liberalism. Can you all see? Liberalism is founded on the belief in human liberty. The good part is, the kind of content which is included in these texts, in these passages, there is so much that even if you haven't read about Martin Luther King or you don't know what is Democratic Party, you really get a lot of information. Okay, so it's not a very long passage. If you think you can read it, I'll be glad. Can you please read the C bit and give me a title and give me a Pressy? So this is about 9 lines approximately. Your Pressy should not be more than 3.5. Okay, that's my expectation. So as an invigilator, as somebody who's correcting your paper, if I see more than 3.5 lines, I'm straight away going to deduct marks. 1 mark for the title, of course, how suitable it is. If it's not suitable, then you'll get half. If you don't even write a title, you'll get 0. And then it obviously depends on the content. If you have included all the information, you'll get a full 5. Okay, please read the passage carefully. Liberalism is founded on the belief in human liberty. Unlike rats and monkeys, human beings are supposed to have free will, which means rats and monkeys do not have a free will. This is what makes human choices the ultimate moral and political authority in the world. If you happen to be amid the riots in Washington on the day after Martin Luther King was assassinated, or in Paris in May 1968, or at the Democratic Party's convention in Chicago in August 68, you might well have thought that the end was near. While Washington, Paris, and Chicago were descending into chaos, the Soviet system seemed destined to endure forever. Yet, 20 years later, it was the Soviet system that collapsed. The clashes of the 1960s strengthened liberal democracy, while the stifling climate in the Soviet bloc presaged its demise. So it's basically how the Soviet bloc was presaged its demise. Presage is looking at the future. You can tell before the event happens what's going to happen. Okay, it's presage. Sage is a wise man, pre is before, so you're being wise even before something has happened. Demise, of course, is death. So this is about a political based passage, mostly hinting on liberalism. Now, if I ask you to give me a Pressy for this, what will be your answer? Quickly submit your answers, and then I'll stop this share and I'll take you to my PPT. Geopolitical liberalism, okay, Khushi. Vidhi, liberalism, not socialism, okay. Chitra, okay. PPT is blurred. Shiva, is it? Okay, I'll try and increase the size. Maybe it'll be. So please read through these lines and then maybe I'll take you to the next page because it'll be difficult for me to fit in the whole thing in one screen. Yeah, Shiva, thanks for sharing your answer on the sentence correction. Ceasefire, Khushi, means when you stop a war. So when two countries are at war, for example, Ukraine and Russia are at war, and there is a ceasefire, which means they have come to discussions, they have come to mutual understandings, and they're no more going to be at loggerheads. Okay, so it's like seize the fire, stop the fire, no more war. Okay? Okay, Bhumika, see, World War II, end of the Soviet Union. Wait, let me see if. Now, if you see Bhumika, I don't think so. World War II is specifically mentioned in the passage, is it? It's not, right? So, since that is an extra fact, because you see Washington riots, you see Paris, you see Democratic Convention in Chicago, you don't see World War II in specific. So please don't include information which is beyond the norms of the passage given. Okay, can I take you to the second page then? This is the second page. Liberalism, liberty to speak. Liberty is fundamental human right. Okay, Ayushi says liberalism, human liberty. Mohammed says liberalism, the belief in freedom. Okay, liberalism is liberty. Most of you are talking about that. Liberalism is liberty to speak. Only liberalism, Licha, will not be good. Human liberalism, Ankit, that is correct. And liberalism. Okay, so most of you have got the title as either liberalism or you've kind of associated with liberty. That's perfect. Any which way. I think you meant something else because the word you've written, reason behind the collusion of the Soviet system. What do you mean by the word collusion? Very good, Kushagra, well written. Liberalism, a big issue. Okay, I think Archana, you got your spellings mistake. Maybe that's a typo error if I'm not wrong. Okay, Priyanka, just tell me what is collusion, and Kushagra, you have done well, no problem. So I'm kind of forcing you to attempt these questions because I don't want you to miss it. I just don't want you to miss it. Okay, correct. Bhumika, Sarvesh, good liberalism, the belief of human liberty. I think it's better than believe, you can say belief. Jyoti says liberalism in the world, fine. So I think you all have got the crux of it. I shouldn't be worried much because I can see most of you have understood what exactly the Pressy is, how exactly you're supposed to attempt questions on Pressy. I'll take you to my slide now, which was this. So this is kind of one example which I want all of you to read, give it a title, and give it a Pressy. And the maximum answers I get, the happier I'll feel. So please do that if possible. Read this example, give it a title, give it a Pressy. Most welcome, Vishal. Okay, Priyanka says liberalism, a sense in human beings making critical thinkers and the ultimate political world author. Okay. A human belief, very good, Jasprit. That's a good title. Okay. So I think for title, I should be like, carefree, because I think we've done enough of practice. I remember from the reading comprehension also, and even in the introduction class, introduction to basics of writing, I was asking you to give titles. So for that aspect, I think you all have nailed it. All of you have started giving me very good titles, very catchy, very gripping, very to the point, very crisp. So that's a good thing. Good job, all of you. I really appreciate that. So let's do this quickly. This can be the last example, maybe. After that, if you guys have any doubt regarding anything, you're free to ask. Otherwise, just finish this example, read it carefully, look at the keywords, get me a Pressy, which is not more than 2.5 lines, and of course, a wonderful title. Ankit, very well attempted. Again, a few mistakes here and there regarding the language. For example, human always wants to pieces in Washington, Paris. What did that mean? So please try and write. I really appreciate your giving me your answers, your writing. That's very good. That's the only way you can improve your language, written and spoken. But what you have to realize is your message fails to come across if there is a loop, in the communication, if there is a bridge in the writing. So just work on that. Okay. Otherwise, good, well attempted. I'm waiting for your answers. Wisdom for journey into higher self. Okay, Khushi. Okay. Archana, is that a title on what we believe with a question mark? Is that what you mean? Faith in ourselves. Okay, Muhammad. Jyoti, okay, belief is trust and faith developed through in the life belief. I think you guys are failing to, put some punctuations, because sometimes it becomes very difficult for me to understand what are you saying. So I know it's difficult to write on a small screen, and there are a lot of content which you have to type, so it's not that easy. Belief, the ancestral faith that sustains us. Okay, Arnab, you haven't written often, Arnab. I just saw your name recently. You haven't been there in the class. Way to sustainability. Okay, what is the way, Jasprit, if I may ask you? If somebody asks you, what is the way to sustainability, how would you answer? So if you see the difference, the last line says people who think they are deeply attached to the materialistic world, where it's more about money and materialistic possessions, they find this idea very lofty. Lofty is, very heavy and very high-headed. Spiritual, of course, because it has an element of the philosophy and the divine. But what is the author here trying to say? It says that belief is a system where if you develop a faith in a certain belief that, okay, if you say God exists and I believe in that, I might be able to reach the highest self. I might be able to attain nirvana. I might be able to attain enlightenment because I have belief in my faith. Okay, it's like making it more complicated, but still, so I have belief in the facts, in the presence of God, in some XYZ entity. Okay, so for that reasons, the ancestors have lived their lives happily with this concept. But people today are in this extreme rush of materialism and everything which is tangible and money and resources, that they probably think that all these things about belief and faith and God and divinity and self and higher self, all this is very spiritual. This is very philosophical. So that's what the author is trying to say. Okay, and of course I've given you the keywords with the meaning, so I'm sure things would have become easy for you. And if you see the source, these are lines taken from a book by late Mr. APJ Abdul Kalam, the missile man of India. In his books called Ignited Minds, he's written this. Okay, so Mayur, spiritual journey, your title? Selfish world, Shiba, isn't that a little big? Isn't that like a strong distraction towards what the passage is? We are not talking about selfishness. We are rather talking about a materialistic world as opposed to a divine world, as opposed to a world where there is faith and belief. Isn't it? No, Chitra. Keywords will not be given. I am just giving you for the sake of your ease. Keywords will not be given. So a title can be believe yourself, exclamation. Have faith in your beliefs, exclamation. Believe what you want to, exclamation. Don't get swayed by the materialistic world, exclamation. These are some possible titles. And then when you write the Pressy, you can talk about first how a belief can help you understand or attain the concept of higher self, how ancestors who've been living with this idea have lived happily and have lived for long. And last, today, the world having moved towards more of materialism, more of fancy stuff, more of objectifying stuff, today these people believe all these ideas are pretty lofty and spiritual. So they think that these are like unintelligible ideas. They cannot have a place in their life because for them, money is what is more important. Oh, okay, Arnav, that's okay. No, you don't have to be sorry. I was just asking you because, I've never seen your name coming in the comment section. And the rest of them, I see pretty often. So, yeah, Ayushi, I'm just reading yours. Give me a second. I'll just read yours and tell you if your answer is correct. Shilpa, I think Shilpa also, I have not seen a faith sustaining life in the lost world. Okay. Spiritual world versus material world. Okay, believe in your faith. Fine. Okay, Mohammed, again, I would say don't straight away pick up all the lines. Ayushi, I think I haven't got your answer. If you can just resend it. Okay, I got it. My rule, we should believe on ourselves, trust to your wisdom, be unique and good like our ancestors, don't become a material world. Okay, so it's not that you don't become a material world. Don't be part of the material world. Okay, that's how you should phrase it. Trust in the faith to bridge to spirituality. Bridge what? You always bridge two things. To bridge the gap between dash and spirituality. Isn't it, Sarvesh? So you've actually given a very good crux in a line. Trust in the faith A bridge to spirituality, is that like a title? So I think a colon or a semicolon after faith would work better. But otherwise, it's good. It's really good. Okay, trust in the faith, a bridge to spirituality. Good. So I think most of you have understood. Now, see here, what I have done is belief, presence, trust, wisdom, sustenance. The ideas are about spiritualism. The ideas are about materialistic world. What sounds lofty now and then. These are my rough notes. So this is what I would put down on paper before I would actually go ahead and write a Pressy for the given passage. You can also try that. So when you know the keywords, when you know the thought behind those keywords, when you know is there a question in agenda? Is there a concern? Is the author addressing an issue? If I know that, then my Pressy comes out really beautiful. Okay, got it? So this was the end of the slide on Pressy. We'll definitely be having more sessions on Pressy writing. Don't worry about that. I again urge all of you, those of you who've joined late or who've joined my session for the first time, Pressy writing is not just limited to the exam of BCR. You also have to carry forward the understanding of Pressy further in your life. So believe me, have faith in me. It's just a repetition of what you did in the past. Believe me, have faith in me. Please start reading. Please start taking down notes. Please refer to the study material. Okay, so Shiva has also mentioned something. I'll read Shiva and Bhumika's answer quickly. Okay, Shiva, that's correct. Okay, Bhumika, yours is also correct. So good. So all of you have answered correctly, not a problem. Okay, so what I understand is one, you all know a Pressy will be a shortened version with the order of things intact, with no personal views and point of views, with no changes to the author's style and tone, with a title and 1/3 of the content. If you can manage to put these things together, your answers will be so close to perfect that nobody can stop you from scoring a 5 on 5. Fine. So my request is, please practice from the question papers. Please refer to your study material. Even if you read a newspaper, take up an editorial, think about it as a text given to you out of which a Pressy needs to be taken out. Take up a news article, try and make a Pressy out of it. Take up a survey report, take up some reports from the CA industry. Read something which is there in the ICAI magazine. Try and practice on your own. Don't limit yourself for the practice. Okay? Okay, well, I'm getting a lot of answers still, so let me just read. Yeah, I'm just reading it, Priyanka. Give me a minute. Okay, Mansi, fine. Priyanka, I'm just reading yours. I think human is what he believes in. Indians are believed to be most experienced with the high esteem because of the way our ancestors lived, but materialism in the world has reduced the thought amount. Okay, fine, Priyanka, fine. I think definitely I find a little bit of punctuation errors, which I just mentioned. So probably that's the reason why sometimes I find it difficult to connect with what you have written, but that's okay. I'm sure when you write it in the exam, you're going to make sure that the punctuations are correct. Okay, so I'll end with what Mansi has said. Trust in yourself. The exam is going to be really interesting and challenging and easy. I've put all the objectives. Please, please, please concentrate on BCR. It's an important aspect. Mansi, correct. Yours is correct. I just read it, and that's why I'm ending my lecture with your lines. Trust in yourself. Do what you want to do, but within limits. And I'll see you again with another session of Pressy writing next week soon. Come up with your doubts. I hope you would have referred to the study material by then. So if there are any doubts, I'll be happy to take them up. For now, I wish you a happy weekend. Goodbye and all the best. Thank you so much, students.